Hey, it's Saff from Tiger King, and I'm watching Kendall Talks.
Preview. What's up, guys? It's your host, Kendall Tucker, and today's guest you've seen on the hit Netflix series that everybody's been talking about, and that's Tiger King. Today we have Kelci Saffery with us, a.k.a. Saff. Thanks for joining us. How you been?
I've been well, and thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. How's quarantine life treating you?
You know, it's been fun chasing my kids around. So I think a lot of my day is spent just making sure their day's okay. Because quarantine life for them, man, it's tough. It's been tough.
Yeah, I understand that. And you playing teacher and all that as well?
Not so much teacher. I didn't enjoy school myself. I don't know if I would be a great teacher. But I'm mainly the fun recess guy. That's always
There we
that's
go.
always a blast.
Yeah, there we go. That's a
Yeah.
good one. Now, we all watch Tiger King, or at least everyone I know watched Tiger King. A lot of the times when you watch something, you know the director and producers are spicing things up to make it more interesting. Was that the
Right.
case for Tiger King, or was everything 100% the way it appeared?
Oh, I mean, everything that you guys seen was definitely, actual footage. The people are the same. That is their personalities. That is their dynamic and demeanor. But yeah, no, definitely parts were highlighted, to tell a
Mhm.
certain story. It
Yeah,
wasn't about, everyone's story. It was about one man's story. So yeah, in that sense, it told a story that wouldn't have been told without their encouragement. But everyone and everything was real life for me. So yeah, it
very
was a
cool.
perfect mixture of both, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotcha. Now, when they were filming this docu-series, the plan wasn't originally it going on Netflix. What was your thoughts on all the filming, all the cameras in your face, and was everyone pretty much cool with it for the most part there at the zoo?
Yeah, so we got filmed often. Um, and I've said this before, there are other Joe Exotic documentaries out there.
Mm,
This one just happened to be on Netflix, which is one of the largest streaming platforms in the world. You
mm,
know, did we know this? Absolutely not. They were just another camera crew filming us. They stayed a lot longer than most. Most of them
yeah.
stay for a week and leave a week or two. These guys were there for years filming for years. So yeah,
Wow.
I mean, this one was definitely different in that sense, but we would have never guessed. I would have never guessed that it would have made it to a Netflix, number one for
Yeah.
however long it was. I mean, it was incredible in that
Was
sense.
was that ever annoying having all the cameras around all the time?
You know, I was used to it, I'll be honest with you, just because Joe always had a camera crew. I mean, it
Hmm.
was his paid camera crew, but there was always cameras around us and you learned to work around it. But absolutely, when your main focus is not being filmed, um, then it gets a little annoying having them running around,
Yeah,
constantly. But no, I mean it wasn't ever bad.
I imagine. Now, how long did you work for Joe Exotic?
I started there in 2010 and I left completely in 2018. So a span
Wow.
of 8 years. Yeah.
Wow. Now, what was it like working for Joe? Because we see in the show he didn't pay much. I mean, he offered living quarters for some people, but didn't look like the nicest
Right.
setup. What made people want to work for him? Was it Joe himself or the
Right.
fact that you got to play with tigers all day? And I mean, that's a freaking awesome job. Like,
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I can only genuinely speak for myself in the sense that I was there because I was able to do what I was doing every day of my life. Joe was the key to that. He was the one who had the tigers that I was able to interact with. So that's why I was there 100%. Joe was aesthetic compared to that. Um,
yeah,
but no, there were a lot of people that came there specifically because of Joe. They saw him on his website or they saw him on Facebook. And I mean, it's a mixture and a combination of both. But the ones who stayed, especially in the animal care, aspect of it, they were there strictly because of their passion for what they were doing. Whether it was small animals, big animals, dangerous animals, or, parakeets, they were there for that. And
yeah.
that's honestly the attitude that you or the vibe that you got there on Park.
Yeah. Now, obviously it's Tiger King. They hit on the subject of tigers, but there was more than just tigers there at the zoo. You guys had other animals as well, right? How many other animals, just off of, top of your head guessing, how many other animals did you have besides the tigers?
Oh man, at least 40 or 50 other species,
Okay.
and then there were the numbers of those. We had primates, we had skunks, we had animals native to Oklahoma, the alligators and the raccoons, and then we had other exotic animals that wouldn't necessarily be, the big cats, like our reptiles, or the beavers. I mean, these are things that not a lot of people get to see on a daily basis, and you're
Yeah.
kind of just putting them right there on display for them. So that was the draw to the place, not only the quantity of tigers, because that was a big deal, or that was a
Mm-hmm.
big thing, but the other animals that you got to experience,
I gotcha.
that.
Yeah.
And then of course, he also got into the breeding aspect of things. So yeah, it was a fun place, man. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I can imagine it being a fun place to work. Now, was there a lot of employees that would come and go, or was it pretty solid? The people we've seen on the show was all the employees?
No, absolutely not. No, the turnover rate was incredible. People came for a bunch of different reasons from everywhere in the United States. But for the most part, our employee roster was built of people who were kind of at their the end of their ropes, nowhere else to go, nothing else to lose, and nothing else to look forward to. So this is where I'm at. Joe offered them as a part of employment a place to live, with no bills and whatnot, and just that environment itself kind of left the types of people coming in as, this is all they got,
Yeah,
and Joe loved that, because when that's all you got, and this is the man giving it to you, you are loyal to him,
yeah, I
and
understand
devoted.
that.
So yeah.
I understand that. Now, let's talk about your accident for a second. You had your hand pretty much bit off from a tiger. Tell us what happened. I mean, was that tiger known to be more aggressive, or was it just a freak accident?
Yeah, well, a little bit of both. I mean, he was obviously one of the younger, more sprite tigers. I mean, he definitely had character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but more so than that, it was obvious complacency on my end, It was a typical chore day, and on top of that, it was also a tour day. It was a weekend, a Saturday. So it was me just trying to get through chores so that we can get to tours and then finish out the day with, the rest of the chores. We're constantly working, so I was constantly thinking. But when you get to that point, in anything that you're doing, man, complacency is a killer, and I'm just thankful that I got away with just losing my hand, because it could have been a lot worse. Any single day I worked with him, it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I went ahead and tried to shift him from one cage to the next. And instead of using the tools provided, I stuck my hand in, to move that door and pull it towards me to let him in. And, he showed me what he was made out of. These are tigers, these are apex predators. And it's when you forget that is when you get hurt.
Mm.
So absolute mistake on my end. And I just wanted to make sure that I was able to recover and come back and speak on that. So
Yeah.
that was my biggest thing.
Well, I've got to say, not too many people can say they've lost a hand to a tiger. So, I mean, that's kind
No,
of cool in a way.
no. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you were
Yeah.
back to work in less than a week. Is that true?
It was actually, it was 7 full days. So it was exactly a week. But it happened on the 5th. I had my hand amputated on the 7th, and I was back to work on the 12th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you whatever happened to that tiger? Did Joe put it down, or what happened to that specific tiger?
Absolutely not. Yeah. So, I mean, let me emphasize that Joe would have never put it down, regardless of the situation. Even if I pushed for it, he would have never. And obviously, I didn't push for it. So what we had to do per the USDA was move him completely off display or in the public eye. So he just had to be moved to the back end of the park, and he just lived his life out, without any type of public interaction. Yeah.
Gotcha. Did you ever have any hands-on work with that specific tiger after that day?
Yeah, of course. He was still an animal under my care, and
Yeah.
nothing was going to change that. So of course I have. Yeah.
Wow. Now, when Jeff Lowe came into the picture as Joe's partner at the zoo, how did that change things? Was it a lot different around there, or were you gone before Jeff came into the picture?
No. I was there, and not so much different. Because Jeff was a businessman, and he, don't get me wrong, he did have tigers, his own personal tigers. Um, so it was more of that relationship, as he was the investor, the businessman, and that had nothing to do with animal care. So we didn't really cross paths too often.
Gotcha.
Jeff has always been formal with me, and I've always been cordial with him, and it still continues to be that way. It's just I don't know Jeff the man. I know Jeff the businessman.
Yeah.
So I just leave it at that and move on. I mean, I don't think that he came in there with any intentions to do harm. I
Mhm.
just know that at the end of the day, greed got the best of both of these men, and they both wanted certain things, and one couldn't have the other without destroying. So it's one of those things, and I just try to stay out of it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Now, um, in the documentary, Joe made it very clear that he hates Carol Baskins. And the documentary kind of made Joe look like he was, in a way, obsessed with talking about how much he hates her. How often around the zoo did you hear Joe actually talk about Carol?
I mean, that could have been actual footage. I'm
Mhm.
serious. This man was obsessed with her, was obsessed with her obsession with him. I mean, it was a vicious circle of obsession. And if they had just focused that energy on their own places, this would never have been an issue. But yeah, he was definitely obsessed with her on a very unhealthy level.
Yeah, I was wondering, man, because like I said, in the docu-series, you can see it looks like he's obsessed with how much he
Yeah,
hates her. And I
he
was like, well, maybe they're
was.
just highlighting this, or I wonder if he actually talked about how much he hated her all the time.
I mean, I've obviously watched the docu-series, and I mean, I promise you, it sounds like actual footage of just one day in his life, because everything was her fault,
Wow.
everything, and yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, though, because
Yeah.
she has completely damaged him,
Mhm.
and she knew that's what she wanted, but I mean, he let her do that to
Yeah.
himself, by making her such a significant thing. I mean, honestly, it's such a crappy circle. I'm
Yeah.
glad I stayed out of it.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Now, have you ever been to Carol Baskin's zoo?
I have, and I think that in each situation, they're doing the same thing. And this is just my personal opinion. Either way, these apex predators, not foreign to here, um, are in captivity. And that's what
Hmm.
both of them are doing, is giving them the best life that they can, even if it's within captivity. The biggest difference was the breeding and the interactions. Carol does not do that, and Joe does. And they
Hmm.
both like flourished within their businesses, but they just had different opinions, and that's where they butt heads.
Yeah.
So
Now, were you ever asked to be a witness in Joe Exotic's court hearing?
I was.
And you were asked, and were you a witness, or did you turn down that?
Yeah. No, sir. I decided to disconnect completely. I wasn't going to be a part of his demise or his support group. I, knew that man for almost 10 years, and I thought it was best that I just step aside and let, you know, him and his actions speak for themselves.
Yeah, that was probably a smart move for you. Now, in your opinion, do you think Joe was wrongfully accused?
As far as 22 years for murder for hire, no one was hurt, no one was killed, you know
Hmm.
So that, I don't agree with it whatsoever. But I do believe in the justice system. I do. And if that's the case, the crimes he committed against wildlife, he's serving his time for.
Yeah.
But 22 years, man, I do not agree with that. I would not want to see that man die, in prison. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that. Now, it's crazy because I think by the end of the docuseries, everyone has their own opinion, but it seems like everyone had a love-hate relationship for Joe. It's like that question left up in the air. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy?
right.
You worked with Joe for a long time. Obviously, he did some things. He did some wrong things in his life. But is Joe overall a good person, or is he self-centered person that pretty much deserves what he gets?
Yeah, he was a little bit both of that. But at the core of this, people are so focused on what's good and what's bad. He's still a man at the core of this.
Mm.
He's a man that was just trying to make it through life. A lot of
Yep.
people make bad decisions. A lot of people do incredible things. I've seen both with Joe. In front of my own eyes, I've seen him be a better man than me, and I've seen him be a worse man than me. And in that sense, when you're looking at it from that point of view, you could find that in anybody. Joe has done some things I do not condone. But Joe has also done things that I didn't even think to do myself.
Mm.
So make of that what you will. But at the core of it, he's just a man. You know,
I gotcha.
that's just
No
it.
one's perfect.
Absolutely not, including myself.
I hear you. Now, now he's also a musician. What was your thoughts on his his music videos?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was there for most of the filming.
Yeah,
Joe is an entertainer by nature, so he absolutely loved it, and it was fun to watch. But it's very, very clear that he doesn't sing these songs. He had a blast making those videos, though.
yeah,
But and that's the beauty that I saw in it. I saw a man having a blast with it. I would never do it, but I'm not Joe
yeah,
Exotic, and that's Joe Exotic to the T. That's the man I met, and that's the man I left. You know,
yeah. I
so
gotcha.
yeah,
Now, Tiger King blew up during this pandemic when a lot of people were still quarantined. The little bit
right.
that you've gotten out of the house during this time, has people come up to you recognizing you from the show?
They have, and at first, to me, even it was a shock, and this is when this Tiger King thing first came out on Netflix. I hadn't even told my kids at that point, and my oldest, she looked over and said, "Why? Why are people wanting to take pictures with you?" And that was the first time that question was asked, and I still don't know how to answer it. But
Yeah,
it's cool, man. I love interacting with people. Positivity for me is a big thing, and so far it's been all positive. So I have to reciprocate that.
yeah.
It's just the right thing to do. Yeah,
Well, I can imagine things are going to change. I mean, just a little bit of interaction you've had with people during this,
right,
Corona thing. I can imagine things are going to
right,
change a little bit for you once everything opens up completely again.
right. Yeah, same here. I can imagine too. And I just hope that I try my best to navigate it best that I can. And
Hmm.
I hope that I'm as prepared as I need to be.
I hear you. Now, there's a lot of rumors going around out there being that there's going to be an actual Tiger King movie, and actually, a lot of celebrities have found interest in
Yeah,
playing Joe Exotic in the movie, which I'm sure will be somewhat of a comedy movie, knowing someone playing Joe. What's your thoughts
right,
on a movie, and would you
right.
like to be involved in some way in the movie?
It's incredible, man. Just this, like I said, I met Joe and I knew he was a story to be told. So it's going to be incredible to, excuse me, but sorry about that.
You're good.
Um, it's going to be incredible to witness this. I would love to see a movie. As far as being a part of it, I'm not sure. I'm not much of an actor, and I'm not much for the production type of stuff. I love adventure. So if they need a stunt man, I'm down.
Well, I'm sure you could get some kind of cameo in it at least. That would be pretty cool.
Right, right. Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
who would you want to play you, and who do you think would play the best Joe?
I promise you, I'm gonna keep saying this because it rings true. David Spade, but Joe Dirt, David Spade.
Yeah,
Because that's Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic, don't get me wrong, is a little bit more flashy. and whatnot. But no, I mean that's Joe Dirt all the way,
Yeah.
100%. You know, and then I stand so strong by this, man. The guy who plays Johnny, or he was a kid at the time who played Johnny Tsunami, the Disney
Yeah.
movie. Brandon Baker, I actually know him now. I had conversations with him. This man is amazing, and I would love for him to play me if that's
Actually,
that's an
that is
option.
pretty perfect. Actually,
Yeah,
now that I think about it, I used to love his music
yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah, Mowgli. I mean, it's awesome. I grew up with him, and now to see us both, grown up, it's almost like a full circle. Because when I was a kid, people thought that was me. They were like, "You're the kid from Johnny Tsunami," and I was like, "No, I'm not." But it would be amazing for him to play me. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So,
And
yeah.
I haven't heard from him in a while either. So
Yeah.
that'd be cool to see him back on the screen.
Absolutely. Yeah, he hasn't done much, and he kind of says he was focusing on himself, and I love that because
Mhm.
I still as an adult, have to find myself every once in a while. So, man, it's just he's a really cool guy. I would love to see this come to life. But
Yeah,
we'll
that
see.
would be awesome. Now, how can people follow you on social media?
I mean, I got a Facebook, I have a Instagram, and they're both under the same name. It's actually my Hawaiian name. And then also I have a public figure page, in the works. So just stuff like that. I love interacting. So I'm trying my hardest to keep up, and
Mhm.
respond to people and make sure they know, man, I'm listening. I'm here. At the end of this, man, I'm human. I'm a father. I'm a husband, and that's it. You know.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Well, I've got utmost respect for you, and Saff, I appreciate you sitting down with me. It's been fun, and
yeah.
I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much, and keep in touch, man.